Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Football.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Football postgame show, because technically it is a postgame show. I am John Neighbors alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, Razorback spring game action. It officially concluded. No, it wasn't on TV, but thank goodness you have us to give you all the breakdowns and all the recaps. What was an incredible, awesome, actually it ended up being a really nice day, but we're going to have the goods, the bads, the uglies, get to hear from Ryan Silverfield, and of course get to all of your chats. But fellas, before we really dive into it, just overall vibe, thoughts, everything when it came to the spring game here for Razorback football.
Yeah, it was nice to step away from Mika Mania for a couple hours there and watch some football. The red team gets the bragging rights, 14-13 victory out there. But no, it was fine. Like I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the crowd was going to look like. Didn't know what the weather was going to look like. Didn't know what the format was going to look like. And I walked out of there. I don't think that I have any like, oh man, this is completely different than what I saw throughout the practices that we were able to attend. And oh, they're going to be way better here. It was about what I expected it to be. And I think there are a lot of positives to be encouraged about. I think there's obviously still some things they got to work on. I know we'll talk about all that here over the course of the next however long that we're live on this beautiful Saturday for a change.
Yeah, I went into this with pretty much zero expectations, like not, again, like not knowing the format, exactly what it would look like. And we've gotten to see these guys practice. So some of the things we saw were not stunning, results. It was like, oh yeah, this is the guy we expect to be here. Oh yeah, good to see this guy, making some plays. We've been seeing that in practice. But I thought, I remember we said it on the elevator. I went to the Chad Morris spring game in Little Rock back in 2018. And I remember leaving that feeling really weird. This definitely wasn't that, so I don't know if that's a win, but really all this is just another data point. We got to watch some practice. Those little 30, 40-minute segments we have, that's a data point. So you start adding them up together. This was another important data point to evaluate this quarterback competition, these players and kind of where they're at and who might be some of the guys to expect some big things out of for Arkansas. So I had a great time today. I had a lot better time watching football than I have watching baseball. That's for damn sure.
Woo! Jeez, man. Yeah, that game didn't happen. It's okay. You won the series. It doesn't matter. Game 3 doesn't matter. But no, it was good. It was good to get out there. It was good to see all of this because, again, this is all new. I know that it's still a spring game, and spring games have been around, but as far as for Ryan Silverfield, it was new. So I was the same way, Curtis. I was interested in the format. I was interested in, was it going to be some breakdowns? Was there going to be some timeouts like long and like how the time worked out? I will say the timing and format was a little interesting, like towards the end, because we were like, oh wait, the game's over.
With the clock, man.
Yeah,
no clock today.
It was wild, and we'll hear from Ryan Silverfield, and again, play some clips from his press conference. But let's just start with the big elephant in the room. Let's just start with what everybody wants to know about, and that is the quarterback position. We have talked about it, of course. Each and every practice that we've been able to have a chance to see, it's really about KJ Jackson and AJ Hill. I think everybody's on board with that and understanding that situation. And we got to see both of them in action. We got to see all quarterbacks in action, but specifically AJ Hill, KJ Jackson. I know we'll give all of our thoughts and go around the horn here, but just your thoughts on the quarterback situation going into this. Feel better, worse, the same? Anything that stood out to you? Just how do you feel about it right now for Razorback football?
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by either, but I wasn't disappointed. I know it sounds like a cop-out. I would love to come on here and be like, man, KJ Jackson really separated himself, but I didn't feel that way. I've got stats on both of these guys that I'll rattle off to you guys real quick. KJ Jackson, 9 of 13 passing, 129 yards and a touchdown. AJ Hill, 9 of 17 passes, 95 yards, and he rushed for a touchdown and he threw a pick six. So there was ups and downs. I think KJ was obviously probably a little bit more consistent, but it was a lot of, I thought, game manager type stuff, but by design. Wasn't taking a lot of shots until he did take one, and that was a deep ball. Who did he throw that to? CJ Brown.
CJ Brown.
Yep.
Long touchdown pass there, so that was great to see. And up until that point, I was maybe a little bit more impressed with AJ until that pick six happened. And I know that was like a miscommunication thing. There's probably some shared blame there between him and Chris Marshall on how that all went down. But yeah, it wasn't like anybody went out there and threw for 305 touchdowns. I remember the last spring game I went to in Taylen Green kind of went nuts out there. We were like, dang, man, dude looked great out there. Didn't get those vibes today, but for the most part, I thought that they looked pretty organized. And I just get the sense that this is going to be kind of it's not going to be a big play, explosive offense. I don't think. I think it's going to be nickel and diamond down the field. And hey, that's okay if you can move the chains.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I went into this kind of feeling like KJ Jackson had the leg up in the quarterback competition, which really I felt that way more going into spring practice. I think that margin, at least where it was at in my head, maybe even got closer throughout spring practice. And I kind of was a bit disappointed by KJ Jackson not separating himself a little bit. I thought today he did that for the most part. Again, you take. I mean, it's hard to do this thing where you say, "Oh, you take away the 65-yard touchdown, and then what were his stats?" But in this case, if you do take away the 65-yard touchdown, it's like you said, KJ just took care of the ball, didn't really take a ton of chances, didn't put the ball in harm's way, just kind of took what was there, dumped it off to his running backs a few times. I thought was very just, took what the defense gave him. I also kind of felt, looking at the rosters, like this was set up for AJ Hill to win the match. I thought he had the better defense behind him. I thought he had the better outside receivers for the most part, and that didn't really matter. I thought KJ had the more consistency. He had the bigger play, and then AJ had the one big oopsie of the day. Finished 9 of 17 overall. It really honestly was, I would say, better than I expected from the quarterbacks overall. It wasn't like there were a ton of huge misses here and there. KJ almost had a huge touchdown to CJ Brown on a third down play. He kind of overthrew him just a little bit, let him out of the end zone. But for the most part, I actually thought KJ looked pretty good. That's how I would describe KJ Jackson's day-to-day, as pretty good, which, given how worried we've been about the quarterback position, feels like a win to me.
Yeah, it's like we've all been really concerned, but I know it's just like I was waiting for something to be kind of put forth as a really good positive. And I didn't go into this spring game being like, all right, we haven't seen squat from either one of them in the spring practices, but today's the day where one of them, no matter what, if they play well, that's going to be the guy. Like, I didn't go into it with that mentality, but I was just hoping, I'm like, hey, let's give us something, give us something that's good, give us some good plays, give us some solid play and everything. That way we don't have to just sit here and be like, God bless, really, like this for the whole summer going into the fall or anything like that. And I felt like they at least did that. Like it wasn't like this just awful, horrendous play. But like you said, Curtis, it wasn't anything that was truly blown away. Maybe it was by intent. I think even Ryan Silverfield, my favorite Chad Morris lines was vanilla by design. Maybe that was what they were doing, and maybe they were trying to just put that forth. But overall, it's like you can see where what they're trying to do. You can see the type of quarterbacks that they're trying to look at, but some of them made some good decisions. Some of them made some really great throws, and then some of them not so great. Like one of the things that kind of stood out to me, though, is it just seemed like any time that they were trying to throw downfield into the end zone, it was well overthrown. It was just well overthrown, or even in some cases, like just deep passes downfield anyways, were well overthrown. And that, I guess, is like, that was been my biggest concern. That still seemed to be being a concern right now. Not the rest of it. I think the rest of it was fine, but still that downfield passing just still worries me a lot because I just don't see any consistency there.
Yeah, I was happy to see CJ Brown get that long touchdown reception after he should have had one earlier, and it got overthrown. Now he caught it, but it was out of the back of the end zone. So that was one of those overthrows that you talked about. There were also there were some dropsies in there too. So like I know KJ wound up going 9 of 13. You see AJ Hill's 9 of 17. You're like, you probably like that percentage to be higher, but there were some drop issues in there for sure. And I want to make sure I note that because there have been times throughout the practices in spring where I've looked at the quarterbacks throwing, I've gone, dude, they're not accurate at all. It's not a strong ball coming out. They're throwing some ducks, especially downfield, like you mentioned there, John. But I actually thought more of that today might have been on some bad hands out there at times.
Yeah, I think Chris Marshall, who had some good moments in this scrimmage as well. Like I thought Chris Marshall at times early on had a huge 3rd and 8 where they go right to him, and I'm like, man, I like the way he looks big, looks athletic. He had at least 2 drops, and I think it might have been 3, and those were all on A.J. Hill. One of which was like a 3rd and 12 where A.J. did a good job stepping up in the pocket, kind of found a soft spot there. But no, I agree 100%, John, what you said about them not being able to push the ball down the field. And it's not like, neither of these guys, I would say, have above average arm strength. And it's, the arm strength is what it is. But what I loved about what KJ Jackson did on his big play, it was against zone coverage, and he kind of found that soft spot, knew exactly what coverage he was facing, knew where his guy was going to be, and was like, hey, if I just am confident, decisive, and I get this ball out quick, I can get that ball there in time. That's what's going to have to happen a lot for this offense to push the ball down the field. It's going to take those snap decisions like that where, you're not just airing it out and throwing it 80 yards down the field. You have to be kind of meticulous with how you take your shots. And so hopefully we can see a little bit more of that. But yeah, I think the thing with A.J. Hill is people look at him and they probably say, if you look at him and you know that he's had some inconsistency, you'd probably think, oh, he's got this big arm that just he doesn't know where to throw it. It's really not that. You mentioned the word game manager for KJ Jackson. I think the best version of AJ Hill is also a game manager that can extend plays with his legs and can kind of do some things in the run game. I really just don't think downfield passing, like you said, is going to be a huge part. But I do like what they have at receiver. I thought their top 4 or 5 guys, really Crutchfield was the only one that I came away being like, man, would have liked to see a little bit more out of him.
He completed more passes than he caught. Crutchfield did in this game. He threw a pass, and I can't even remember who he threw it to, and completed one. But I don't think that he had a reception in this one. CJ Brown, just looking at the stats that we accumulated, 3 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. That really stood out. Marshall, despite the drops, had 3 for 35. Jamari Hawkins had 2 for 33. He had one where he looked real shifty. He made a couple guys miss in space, and that was good to see. So, and then Antonio Jordan, he just I see the stat sheet has him at 2 for 34, but I'm almost positive he had 3 catches, and all 3 of them were fairly contested or just really good grabs. Man, he just got a knack for it. I got to give him credit where it's due.
They gave Sackham Souls a sack on one play where the ball ended up being a completion downfield. I think that was maybe KJ that hit him on a back shoulder, but this was the most. And listen, Antonio Jordan's made some plays, and we see little clips get posted out where he's against the threes and he's catching a contested pass. And I'm usually like, okay, that's cool, but like, I want to see you get separation. I want to see you run a route. I want to see you get open. He got open over the middle and made a nice catch against Joker Johnson, Arkansas's top cornerback. That completion right there was just a normal 16-yard completion. That was the most impressive play I've seen Antonio Jordan make since he got on campus. And you see that big target. He made another nice grab over the middle. I thought he was really impressive today, and I've been kind of hesitant to buy into the Antonio Jordan thing. Today I thought was maybe his most impressive day.
Yeah, you can tell that he has every attribute that you want as a wide receiver. So if he doesn't play this year, I don't know what it is. Like, it's got to be something, whether it's the playbook or route running or something. It's got to be more to that. But
he's huge out there.
You can just tell it's big. Like if he had whatever it is that he's missing, if he had it, he would be like first team all SEC. Like he is that type of dude. But let's go ahead and hear from Ryan Silverfield when he was asked about the quarterbacks and what he felt like was their situation, who he felt like stood out.
Listen, I think, both KJ and AJ have continued to make steps in the right direction. I thought you got to see some positives and some negatives from both today. I think they're going to both continue to master this offense. It's one of those things as they understand where we need to go. The thing that today, which was not good by either of them, was the first time we did more huddling. Part of that was we didn't want to be sitting there signaling on the sidelines, just kind of more C2P and the communication of kind of a muddle huddle. I don't know if you've noticed that, but then that sense of urgency to get guys lined up. Now, they may have been out there with a freshman wide receiver saying, hey, no, you're on that side. This is where you need to line up. But the growth process, I think, is there. I think they're both ultra talented. I think you guys got to see some throws today where you'd sit there and be like, man, that's a big time throw. This guy can be a starter for the Razorbacks and a great quarterback in the SEC. And then other times you said, oh, that read need to happen quicker. They need to step up and do some of those things. So, with what they're limited and obviously with different pieces around them today. But I've been pleased. And listen, I think either one of them gives us a great opportunity to be successful.
So there you have it. Just, again, kind of going through like what he really likes about him, says there's a lot of talent there, but also kind of went into, hey, there's some throws you're very impressed by, other throws, not so much. That's why he's like, both quarterbacks, though, could definitely give us a good chance this upcoming season as starter.
Yeah, and the further along we get into this, obviously the spring is over now, and sometimes when like they said, they weren't going to announce a starter until fall camp. So it was like, all right, well, we would kind of have a pretty good idea of who it is. And maybe it's a lot of coach speak. I really don't think it is, from a standpoint of, I don't know that anyone's really grabbed hold of this job yet. There were a lot of practices where I thought KJ Jackson really looked the part, and it kind of seemed like it might be clear to me. But I've heard also, and I know both you guys can vouch for this, that it sounds like AJ Hill has really held his own. And maybe that's been happening when we haven't been out there a little bit. And then today, again, like, I don't think anybody really stood out from the other out there. So this is a full-on competition, man, and it is going to go into the fall, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But somebody is going to have to come up and get some separation at some point in there.
Yeah, from a down-to-down consistency standpoint, there's not much of a gap at all between these two dudes, and I feel like they're honestly pretty similar in terms of their skill sets and what they do well. And I think it's one of those things because we know how important every single play is and how any turnover completely changes your odds to win the game.
Yeah.
Every big play, it's like everything matters so much. And with Arkansas being a program that's lost so many close games, you want your quarterback to have an understanding of how important every single down is and taking care of the football. And that's where, again, I think KJ Jackson was really impressive today because he just didn't do anything stupid. There was nothing that I looked at. I'm like, oh, KJ, what were you looking at there? Why did you throw the ball there? I thought every throw decision, he made the right decision. He just didn't complete all of them. I think that's going to be huge. And I think that's an important tone to set in practice where every single play is going to matter. And it's going to come down to who makes less mistakes, who ends up, can convert on a huge third down here and there. And so I do think there's some positives from that. I just hope that as we get into fall camp, it'll be interesting because they're going to have a summer workout program where these guys have a chance to kind of stake their claim, be a leader on this team. Do we feel any differently about it going into fall camp than we do right now? Because, there's no football for them to do. But from a leadership standpoint, from a kind of making it known throughout the locker room, which one of those guys is going to dominate the summer?
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate question. And I know we'll move on to the skill position guys too. But real quick, guys, do you just after now the spring's concluded, like if we still saying KJ Jackson starter game one, if we were betting men, if we were going on Bet Saracen, would we say he's starter, or have you wavered on the odds here when it comes to who's QB1?
I'd probably stick with it. Yeah, I'd probably stick with it.
But
it's not definitive to me. It's really not.
No, if you had asked me 2 months ago, I would have been like, I'm pretty confident, KJ. If you'd have asked me 7 days ago, I would have been like, oh crap, I actually think this might be setting up. And I thought today it was set up for AJ Hill to have success. After today, I think KJ should be the front runner, but I'm not super adamant about it.
Yeah, I was like 90-10, like 90% that KJ Jackson was going to be the starter. And I still feel like he's going to be the starter, but now it's like 75-25, like a little less, but still very confident that he's going to be the starter game one when it's all said and done. But other parts of it, I know we already alluded to a few of but just for skill position guys on the offense, looking at running backs, wide receivers, we talked about some of the drops that the wide receivers have, but kind of going to the running backs because I like the positives. Like Braylon Russell, man, I know he's a good player. We all know he's a good player. There's been some stuff that's happened that we kept wondering, okay, what's he going to do when he comes under Silverfield? One of the few returnees that are key contributors. He slimmed up. When we saw him in spring, we're like, geez, man, he looked completely different. You've slimmed up a little bit. I was really impressed by him. Running backs in general too, but just the guy goes north and south. He was tough to get down, even though he slimmed up. I like some really great plays that he had. Is he going to go and be 1,000-yard rusher? I don't know, but I'm definitely pleased with what I saw from him in this spring, and knowing that he could have a really bright future. Could be one of the key ingredients to this offense working, especially if the passing game has its struggles. You're going to have to rely on running the rushing attack, and I feel like Braylon's definitely that guy that can be counted on a lot.
I thought he had I don't think anybody really had any huge runs, but he had some explosive ones where he looked like he had a little bit of extra pep in his step. I wish that would translate a little bit better in goal line situations, but no, I thought that he looked really good today. He stood out for sure. Cam Settles, he had 7 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown, so he kind of led the way statistically in terms of the backs. Braylon had 6 carries for 35 yards, but yeah, it's one of those deals where every time I see Cam Settles make a play, I feel bad because I'm like, who was that? Was that Jasper Parker? Was that somebody? Oh, no, it was Cam Settles. But I really thought all those guys had moments in there. Jasper Parker is the most I've seen from him. He had a couple runs like, okay, man, there's a little bit of burst in there. I see the vision. TJ Hodges got in there and he had one play in particular where he broke through and got into the second level. And I was like, all right, man. So, and you got to give credit to the offensive line for some of that, obviously, but it's interesting because I really don't see like the bell cow type in the backfield there, but they can, patchwork this thing together by committee. We haven't even talked about Sutton Smith, who didn't get a carry. And I just have a feeling that that's not going to be the case when they get into the season. They threw a pass to him, but they did not turn around and hand him the football one time. And I still walked away with like 3 or 4 running backs where I was like, you know what? Not bad.
I think Sutton Smith's usage is going to be a very interesting conversation for us to have, because that was a huge thing at Memphis. You look at his game log and they just stopped giving him the football after week 5 or week 6. his usage went way down, and obviously he's not a big guy. So you mentioned them not having a bell cow. He's definitely not going to be that. I wonder why they didn't use him today. I mean, listen, I'm all for, if you feel like you got your guy, that's all fine. But like, we've been seeing him run with the first team offense almost exclusively all spring. And then you don't even, he doesn't get any of those reps today. I thought, and he didn't even play a ton. He only played a handful of snaps at the beginning. So I thought that was very interesting. That white team, which had Braylon Russell and Cam Settles, which those two guys led the way rushing. On the interior of their offensive line, you had Kobe Branham, Malachi Breland, and Cash Courtney, the redshirt freshman who was starting to center there. That's three big boys right there. They were moving some bodies. So give those dudes some props up front, because I think they really made it a little bit easy for some of these running backs. And, north and south, those just got right after it. They didn't have to make too many people miss.
Yeah, I also liked, and it's not surprising here, but you can tell that this offense is going to be a lot of predicated on the dump-offs to the running backs in the passing game. Like, they did a lot of those. And I think that you're going to see that, and that's going to be another element to where it's like, okay, well, who's the best at running? Well, you got – rushing attack with these guys, but who's also going to be crucial in the pass game? Who's going to be able to catch passes in stride and be able to make plays there, almost like a secondary wide receiver. So I think that that's what makes it great for the running back room, is because there's so many different things you're going to utilize them for, that I think we're going to see a lot of different players be lined up out there, and some of them on the run, some of them in the pass, but they at least have options there and some depth there, and some guys that I really enjoyed seeing. I think that they're, we don't want to get anybody hurt, but that's one of those positions where I think they have some quality depth there to where if something did happen, it could change up a little bit. So, well, you mentioned that the wide receivers we talked a bit about too. I know that we went back to the quarterbacks, but the drops, the situation, I know it's just a spring game and everything. We've been harping on how impressed we've been by the wide receivers in the spring, and today just they had some good plays, had some good passes, all of that, but the drops was just a little bit annoying. I mean, that's really what the main takeaway was, at least for me, for the wide receivers, is some great plays, but way too many drops by way too many different players, especially Chris Marshall, who is your best wide receiver, and he had three of them, at minimum, three of them today, and you just can't have it. Yeah,
I think that he fits the profile of an under the lights type of player. So I would imagine on game days you might feel a little bit better about that. He's even struck me at times as kind of casual out there at practice with some of that stuff. It's weird, but you're right, man. There were too many drops, and it wasn't all perfect. I know we've been like, oh, well, this was pretty good, and this is not bad. So that was a thing. I was happy that they weren't really putting it on the turf. They had the one sequence where whichever team scored, it was 14-13. They were going to try for the 2-point conversion to take the lead, and you get a false start, so you back it up, and then it's just like a bad snap. And then you wind up not getting anything out of that. But outside of that and the pick six, it was pretty clean. And those are some important plays right there. But how many plays did they run? A ton while they were out there. And there were only a couple that really stood out as like, turnovers, or, oh, man, you really can't have that. There weren't a whole bunch of flags thrown. That might have been the only flag that got thrown.
Yeah, I think maybe one or two false starts.
Yeah, just a couple, man.
And one of the false starts was on Aaron Smith, who's not with the first team, not going to be running with the ones or the twos. It was fairly mistake free. They were fairly organized for the most part. If I can nitpick for just a minute here,
picking it.
Tight end, not that tight end is like a position where it's like, if you're going to be a good football team, you better have great tight ends. And Jaden Platt's a guy that's done some things for Arkansas. Ty Lockwood caught, I think, 3 passes today for like 12 yards, something like that. There were a couple guys here and there, but and again, when you're running vanilla offense, you're not going to run anything crazy where your tight ends get involved. But I think about these quarterbacks and what they're going to need to be successful. It's going to need to be a lot of throwing to the running back, a little quick bubble to the receiver, got my safety valve here at tight end. I want to see the tight ends featured a little bit more. I know that was a huge conversation we had when Luke Haz was here in year one under Bobby, where it's like, why don't we feature the tight end? And not that I necessarily needed to see it today, but I do wonder, Platt's been banged up a little bit. We haven't seen a ton of him throughout spring, but I worry a little bit about the tight end room a little bit.
Yeah, no, I do too, because I'm wondering if it's going to be like one of those things where under the Kendall Briles offense, when they had to move Trey Knox to tight end just to get somebody, you had Blake Kern out there too before him, which is not trying to insult him, but it was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you need to have some of those things. And so, it's kind of goes back to like, okay, so what do you want from the tight end? Because the tight end is multifaceted. What do you want from them? Do you want them to be in the passing game? Do you want them to be more on the blocking side of things? Do you want them to be a hybrid of both? Like, what do you want out of them? And, every single possession I saw out there, at least they had a tight end. And it was either winding up as sort of like an H-back or even as a wide receiver. So not to say that they didn't help block, they did on occasion, but that's what I'm going to be very curious about with that tight end position of, I don't care what you do with them as long as they're good at it, whatever it is. If they're blocking, then great, have them do that. If they're out there in the passing game, great, do that. But I just don't want to be out there and be halfway through the season and be like, so what do these tight ends do? What is it that they do? I don't want that, but that was also one of the coaching holdovers with Morgan Turner staying on board, has been that tight end position. So, yeah. So I know we'll get to some other things. We'll get to some defense. We'll get to your chats too, folks. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and everything. But want to remind everybody that OZK Insurance is going to have you covered when it comes to everything insurance, especially your independent insurance agency when they're the best in the business at it. We've told you so many times about it. You need to know it and you need to use them because they're not just tied to one company. They shop a multitude of A-rated carriers from the best coverage and price for you. And now that they've paired on something that you don't normally see from an independent agency, which is a full service mobile app with the OZK Insurance app, you can see all of your policies under one roof, home, auto, whatever it is that you have. You can plus pay your bills, request roadside assistance, file claims, request policy changes, or even get new quotes, all from the easiness and convenience of your phone. So you get the best part of an independent agent, which is choice, flexibility, real people, and the convenience of modern technology. If you're tired of being stuck with just that one carrier and chasing down all that paperwork, well, just go to ozkinsurance.com or search OZK Insurance in the App Store or Google Play, and you can change it up and get the best in the business. It's a local agency, national level option, one powerful app. That's OZK Insurance. So I know we'll talk some defense here too and some other things that we took from the spring game and then get into the chats. But real quick, just as far as the offensive line goes, I know there's a lot to try to take in and everything, but as far as any sort of major takeaways that maybe you guys had from offensive line, did anything really stand out? Because I'll be honest, when I was watching it, there were some times where I'm like, all right, I really like that. There were some times where I'm like, oh, yeah, that guy got beat. But overall, I always felt like it's a good thing if the offensive line didn't really stand out because normally it's bad if they stand out in some ways. But did you guys have anything from offensive line from that perspective?
Well, we just talked about the running backs being able to make some plays. Andrew mentioned some guys who were moving bodies around in there. So I thought that was nice. And then I didn't really see either quarterback like under duress a ton. There were some touch sacks in there. And I think when they went to Fuller and Trotter, the third and fourth string guys, and some of that's kind of feel for the game type things. I felt like there was way more pressure on them. And I don't even remember who was in there at that time. But I thought that they looked pretty good, especially considering that it was piecemealed together a little bit. It wasn't like it was all of your ones lined up together. It was 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, kind of mix and match. Probably a lot of guys who haven't had a lot of reps out there playing together. And if there's one position on the field where like the chemistry as a unit, it's like you're only as strong as your weakest link type of thing. Offensive line is probably it. So I kind of went into it knowing the format they were doing with mixing and matching, thinking it could get pretty sloppy there on the up front on the offensive line in the trenches. I really didn't think that it did. And from the beginning of spring to now, I'm not saying that I think Arkansas's got like, man, this is going to be a dominant offensive line, man. They're just going to be mauling people up front. I don't feel that way, but I think they're good. I think they're going to be fine on the offensive line. I don't look at it necessarily and go, oh my God, they've got a huge hole here. Good luck to whoever wins that quarterback job. You're going to be getting sacked every other play. I think they're going to be okay on the offensive line.
Yeah, there's been times throughout spring where I've kind of just sat there and like, listen, we're at spring practice for 30 minutes. We're sitting here watching them hit sleds and stuff. It's really hard to come up with definitive takeaways, but I have caught myself looking over and being like, Kavion Broussard is going to be the starting left tackle, huh? And like nobody, we never really talked about it, and I don't care. I mean, listen, whoever wins is the guy, but like I kind of thought that was interesting, especially because you bring in the Roberson kid, which by the way, Terrence Roberson did not participate today. I was a little bit disappointed because I've been wanting to get a good look at him. You got Josiah Clemens who looks the part. That's a redshirt freshman. So I really do feel like Bryant Williams and Kavion Broussard are going to have to step up in a big way for them at the tackle spots. And I thought both those guys. I have to go back and look at the all 22. I thought they held up. And again, that interior. You got 3. I mean, with Kittler at center, you're moving bodies with Cash Courtney, a redshirt freshman at center. When you got your senior, arguably one of your most consistent guys there on the offensive line, I think Breland is an absolute unit. Like I feel very confident with him over there at left guard. I think Kobe Branham is a borderline all SEC type of guy. And so I think you've got a lot of stability in there close to the football. And then if you can just get by at tackle, which I know We've said that a few times because in the last 5 years, Arkansas has had a lot of situations where there's like one tackle spot that's kind of the iffy one, and it's tough to get by. If those two guys on the outside can just be guys that we don't have to talk about, I think Arkansas is going to have like at least an average offensive line and probably maybe even slightly above average in the SEC, which, you know, is going to be huge for this offense because these quarterbacks are going to need all the help they can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, I know that nobody will want to hear this, but about the offensive line, one of those things that better be good because Ryan Silverfield's an offensive line guy. I mean, that's what he does. In fact, in most of these practices that we've gone to, when they've gone to individual drills, the majority of the time, Ryan Silverfield's over there with the offensive line. Now, again, I know the reason I'm making that joke is because so many people remember that with Pittman and the offensive line never really lived up to what people were hoping it would be. But this is kind of a different coach, a different approach, different everything. This is something that they need to be good at, and they need to be good at it right off the bat, or at least serviceable at it, because that's your thing. So I'm hopeful for the offensive line. I think that they've looked solid. I'm with you. It could be a strength even when it's all said and done, when they settle in. And I even think they have depth there too. Kind of when you guys went through it, they got options. They got ability to pass protect and do everything else. It's just a matter of staying healthy and actually doing it against SEC competition. That's a big thing too.
Yep.
So again, we'll get to your chats, but then defensively, which I know, like I felt like going into this, the defense is the strength of the team right now. I've been really impressed by them. And I think that, of course, if you looked at the transfer portal, if you took the transfer portal grades overall, they had to overhaul the entire defense essentially. But you kept Quincy Rhodes, which was no doubt your best player to keep. And then you built around him a little bit. You've seen some guys that were big time gets out of the portal. They built the depth and everything. So just as far as defense goes, pass rush, running, stopping the run, coverage, anything like that, just comparing it to the offense, how do you feel like they fared today?
Well, considering last year's defense for Arkansas was just a big play giving up machine, I was pretty pleased with what I saw today. There wasn't a whole lot of explosives that they allowed, a couple things here and there. I thought late it felt like the tackling and the discipline there kind of slipped, which is not necessarily a surprise, but no, there were a few guys that stood out to me, and I thought they did okay. Lakai Rowland, I felt he was like involved in everything out there. He had a bunch of tackles. He had like back-to-back plays, or it might have been 2 plays in 3 downs there where he got a PBU and then he had a TFL, and he got a little bit banged up, but he got up. I didn't see what wound up happening there, but no, I thought he looked good. I like what they have. You know, we talk about Quincy Rhodes a lot, but they kind of have those pass rush specialists and I thought Souls and Waller both had moments where they looked really good getting into the backfield. So there were some encouraging things on defense, and they're going to be better than they were last year. Are they going to be good? I don't know. And I know that's not a high bar to set, but you got to start somewhere, man. And they've got some pieces in there. The defensive line has more depth. They have more bodies. I think they're better. So I look at this team, and it's tough because when you talk them up, people are gonna be like, "Oh man, you guys are really pumping Sunshine. Were you going to predict them to go 10-2?" No, probably not. I probably won't even predict them to go to a bowl game. But I'm comparing it to what we witnessed last season, and from a starting point of what we've seen so far in evaluation, I do think they've made a lot of improvements, and I think it stands out the most to me on defense.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that's like, there's a lot of things going into today that it's like the thing I was worried about actually looked pretty good. And the thing that I felt pretty confident about, you know, I'm now not even less confident, but like I'm okay with the offense making plays against this defense because we're really not that worried about it. Not that we think they're going to be great or that they're going to be, you know, pitching shutouts in the SEC or anything like that. But in terms of guys that have proven they can play Division I football, there are way more of them on the defensive side of the ball for Arkansas. You mentioned Souls and Waller, those two guys. And like really, I would add Charlie Collins in there too, because he's going to be getting a lot of reps out there as kind of that stand-up edge rusher who's just going to be maybe even a pass rush specialist. Now, all 3 of those guys have a lot of work to do in the run game. They were on the team that was kind of getting run against a decent amount. But I think all 3 of those guys are going to be guys that when it's 3rd and 9, I think opponents have to be a little bit worried about them. Obviously, Quincy Rhodes is Quincy Rhodes. I mean, he's an all-SEC type of guy. Ben Bogle, West Virginia linebacker. I kept hearing Tom Murphy, who was, by the way, the stats that we got, we all kind of combined together in the media to put them together. Tom Murphy was out there reading out the tacklers. He kept saying Ben Bogle's name. Now, some of these were downfield, but I just like to see that. I'm glad that somebody is emerging. If there's a position I'm worried about defensively, I think it is linebacker. Now, Bradley Shaw had a couple good moments. We've seen him make some plays. We feel pretty confident about him. I think that's a very solid SEC starting linebacker. I think the kid from Howard Smith is going to be a pretty good player for them. You really need someone else, whether that's Wyatt Simmons, whether that's Bogle, whether that's one of the two kids from Baylor, who, Phoenix Jackson did not play in this game, but Evans, the other kid, one of those guys. You really need one more guy at linebacker to step up and emerge. Maybe it's Bogle, maybe it's one of those other guys, but I think that if they can get that shored up, I'll feel pretty good. And I was good. I was glad to see Roland make some plays out there. He had a nice pass breakup, good coverage, made a tackle for loss. That was good to see because we really hadn't seen much from him in spring practice. He was running with the threes a little bit, and I was kind of worried. And the other Maryland corner is banged up. He's not participating, but I'm like, damn, if they go over 2 on these Maryland DBs, like that's a little bit tough.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal too. But what makes me have a lot of confidence, I should say, in that the defense is going to be vastly improved, not just a little improved because it's hard to be worse than what you were last year, but vastly improved is because one, it's like that's the coaching staff and the defensive coordinator that is SEC driven. Like they've been in the SEC, he's been in the SEC, he understands it. And I think that what they did in the portal and some of the players that they added from being from other schools, other Power 4 schools, is also going to be really helpful as well. And I just like this. And what we've seen from all the defense that we've been able to take place is, of course, they have the 3 down linemen almost always. And then they have that stand-up rusher on the outside, kind of going to the strong side of whichever spot it'll be. Like you can tell that they're going to get very creative with this defense. They're going to have, where you mentioned the linebacker spot, it's not going to be the classic of like, all right, well, there's the 3 linebackers right there. They're going Larry, or Roger. Like, no, you're going to have a lot of different moving parts to all of this. You're going to have guys jumping back into coverage. I mean, there's been talk about Quincy Rhodes in coverage. Like it's just going to be that way. So it's going to be a very creative defense. But is that going to be enough? Is it going to overcome maybe some of the efficiencies that you have or the deficiencies you have? Time will tell, but I did like the secondary a lot. I did think that Sackham Souls, of course, you mentioned him, was looking really good there too. I like how I like the tackling in space may have been one of my favorite things. Like they tackled in space. You mentioned Roland. He had some really good tackles on some guys that were much bigger than him right there in open space, solo tackles on the outside. And that, to me at least, looked amazing and is a great thing. Obviously the tackle, but also the pursuit angles. I didn't see any bad angles taken. I didn't see any of those just like glaring basic issues. Do they have the talent? Maybe, maybe not. But at least based on today and what I've seen, I don't look at this defense as just being like, oh, they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to pursue. They don't know any of these things. And who knows, maybe if you just get the basics out of the way and you're solid at that, maybe you can overcome a lot of the things that you may have at depth and all that. But I at least like what I've been seeing from the defense. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what they do against legitimate competition come SEC play.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. The score was 14-13, and there was a pick 6. So they were doing a pretty good job of keeping points off the board. Take that however you like.
I mean, there was a moment early in the scrimmage where I was like, crap. And I even leaned over to Curtis. I was like, hey, just so I'm right, there hasn't been a score yet, right? And we were kind of like, is anything going to happen here? I don't know how many plays they wound up running, but yeah, outside of, literally just a couple plays here and there, I thought the defense was, they more than held their own.
Yeah. And before we get into the chat, because I know we'll try to answer all your questions, and yes, we will talk, I'm sure, some Razorback basketball and baseball, which I know a lot of y'all are interested in too. Real quick, just special teams. Okay, whatever. We didn't get really chances to see all the special teams, but saw McAllister miss a 40-yard field goal. So there was that. A couple punts here and there, but is anything that you guys can take from like special teams or the intangibles, the other things from the team?
I saw some students making extra points out there, but
I also saw the students win the tug of war against Arkansas's football players. Now they were outnumbered, the football team was, and they had just played an entire possession, but they should have rigged that in favor of the football team, right?
Yeah, they should have. I think so. I understand the part of the bit there, but come on, man. No, I don't really have anything to take away from special teams. The only play there was the field goal. Everything else was just like punting on air. Like they weren't live for kickoff and punt and stuff like that. So,
well, and the kicker that we expect to be the starter, the Gilbert kid from Tennessee, he didn't even attempt a field goal, did he?
Not that I saw. No. Maybe some extra points, but no field goals themselves.
I always like when they do that at spring games, not to nitpick too much, but I always like when they do the thing where they're like, hey, we're going to have a segment that's just 4 straight field goals, and they count as 1 point or whatever. But it's like they kind of give you a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really have that there. And also, too, just a few other things of note that I always put down here. You mentioned there was not any real penalties. I think the first penalty was like late in the first quarter or second quarter. I don't even know how the format was, but whatever it was, it took a long time for the first penalty to happen. So it was good to see that, at least, that the penalties, it wasn't just like, all right, well, they're lining up in punt or lining up in extra point or whatever, which I know they had a penalty there, but there wasn't this constant glaring like, geez, get lined up, geez, figure out what you're doing. That was good to see, that at least there wasn't a whole lot of penalties that were going down there too. And yeah, I mean, that was as far as everything else went. I mean, there's just some other basics, but that was the main thing too. Yeah, the 2-point conversion play was weird. I don't know what was going on there, but snapped over the head. It was no good.
Yeah,
and weird.
There was that one, and then they attempted. I can't remember which team it was. They attempted a trick play that just got completely blown up. Yeah. And resulted in a touch sack. I can't remember, but
they tried to do the weird stumble play.
Yeah,
where it was like fake the fumble Rooski thing, and then we come around, and then I think it was that defensive back from West Georgia, who, by the way, might actually be a player for them. But he was the one who came in and had the touch sack.
Yeah, is he the one? He was the one with the tough name to pronounce, right? Was that the one?
No, that's the guy who had the interception.
Okay, pick six. Yeah, okay. I was looking at my notes here, trying to go back and see if I could figure out who it was, but you're right. It was a play that that guy just was like locked in and knew that what was coming there and was able to get this coverage sack there too on the trick play. So, yeah. And real quick for the chat, just because I thought this was cool. Want y'all's thoughts on it? The black pants, black uniforms. We're gonna get a blackout this year. The logo was black on the field, or white on the field with black outline. Tyson's logo was black and white. What'd y'all make of all that?
Anything? I liked it.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good with it too. I just thought it was interesting that
like
they put it together.
They, it's like, they always do it with the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks typically, I feel like, wear black in the spring game just so that they know they can't be touched. Back in the day, they'd put on the little like vest or whatever. But they've been wearing the anthracite, and I guess this isn't even anthracite. This is just straight up black.
Yeah, and
I like the black for the most part. I doubt they're going to ever wear it in season, but I don't know. Maybe it's a new era. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, again, it was just like it was just a little. That mixed in with the white Razorback logo and then the black and white. I don't know if it means anything at all, or maybe they're just trying something. But if they did a blackout for, as some people are saying, like for the Halloween game against Missouri, something like that, I'd be in favor, and I think it'd be pretty cool. So, yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, I'm an alternative.
By the way, where's the? Dang it! I just had it. The guy's name who made the interception. Crap! I have it written out. Whenever I look at it, I can. Oh, it's Songbae Ginyu. That's how you say that. Songbae Ginyu.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck, Chuck Barrett.
Scorer for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. All right. So getting to some of your chats too, folks, and we'll try to do our best to answer any of the questions, but also, of course, again, getting to some Razorback basketball and baseball, because I'm sure that's the big thing. So Razorback Pride, appreciate the super chat. If you had a chat in here, I did not see it, but we appreciate the super chat nonetheless. Grant says, thoughts on Green going to the Browns? Tough. Could have been worse. Could have gone to the Jets. So,
what he wound up going 6th round?
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed in that. Because I know a lot of people are starting to talk about, like, man, he might go 2nd or 3rd round, and would have been cool. I don't know that I was getting all the way in on that, but I definitely thought he was going to wind up going higher than 6th. Cleveland Browns, whatever.
Yeah, it's an interesting quarterback room there. I mean, he's got Massage Watson, who is now his leader in spiritual guide. So that what a guy to learn from there. You've got Dylan Gabriel, whose family tweets about the coaching staff all the time. Is Shedeur still there?
I believe
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Taylon Green has a chance to put Shedeur Sanders out of a job.
Oh my goodness.
Or he has a chance to catch touchdowns from Massage Watson. Either way.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. It's brutal. But also weird too, real quick. I just saw that Harold Perkins from LSU was drafted in the 7th round. I'm like, that's something I never would have guessed, because that guy.
Did Nussmeier end up getting drafted?
I haven't even paid attention, to be honest.
I know he wasn't drafted ahead of Taylon, but that's crazy. Who had that one?
Yeah, exactly. Razorback Pride. Appreciate the super chat. Goes 7 or 8 wins and beating LSU. There's your super chat. So, all right.
I hope so.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
He talking about basketball, I think.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, well, it'll be more than 7 or 8 wins in basketball. Come on now. So, yeah, that was. I love the optimism. I love the optimism. Heartbroken Hawk says, any fumbles? No, not that I know. Not even like, oh, fumble and then the offense recovered it. Like I didn't see any balls on the ground.
Whatever you want to call
yeah.
that, but not like a fumble.
Right. Yeah. And they were hitting too, by the way, folks. I mean, I didn't hit the quarterback, but they were like full on tackling. So it wasn't like anything like soft or anything like that. Let's see. Chief Keith, we kind of talked a little bit about it. Says, how's the D-line looking? Anyone stand out from it
a lot of the guys that have been the best ones, I mean, the ones that you expect to be the better ones on the team didn't necessarily ball out today. Like, Quincy Rhodes, I don't know how many snaps he got. We know how good he is. He didn't do much today. Hunter Osborne from Virginia, we know he's going to be pretty good. He's been kind of a bright spot of spring practice. I don't think he really did anything crazy today. Souls and Waller, I feel like were the two that really Souls specifically, he had 2 sacks. I mean, if you're going to be sack 'em Souls, you got to pick up sacks. He had 2 in his first time wearing a Razorback jersey. I like that. I think those guys are going to be good.
Yeah, I like him, and I like what Waller's going to do on the outside too. Like, I mean, again, the pass rush itself. I know those aren't like necessarily all just D linemen, but like the pass rush itself, I think you're gonna see some guys that are going to cause some problems for some teams this upcoming season. Let's see. Rich Nolan just says, "Where is the team elite at? Do you have an elite game changer? If not, they're not going to win."
Could Quincy Rhodes qualify?
Yeah, I think he's pretty elite.
He could be an elite player for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it on offense. It's really tough to say right now, but you would think if they had that, then it would be pretty obvious, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure this is a cop out, but I think it's tough to assume that Arkansas is going to be elite at anything. I would love for them to be elite at one thing. You know, like they were the #1 forced fumble team in the country. I'd love that. They didn't force any today. Anything like that. But no, I don't personally. As of today, I mean, things change. We might get into fall camp and start hearing, hey, you know what? This pass rush actually is one of the best, we've ever seen. We'll see. But I think right now I couldn't call anything they do elite. But I also don't know if I would have said that at any point during spring practice for any team.
Yeah, I was hoping that there would be like what we saw the past couple of years of like, remember when we saw Jaquin and Jackson, we're like, okay, yeah, that guy's going to be good.
He's for
like,
real. Yeah.
Or even Mike Washington, because that's all we heard about was like, okay, I guess this guy's going to be good. I was hoping that maybe from the spring it'd be like that one where you're like, oh yeah, that guy's going to be really good. But we just haven't had that yet, which who knows, maybe we will. And once fall camp gets going. We're here too. Silverfield Suey says, Taylog is going to be so fun to watch. As a freshman on the defense, does he lead the defense in interceptions this year? I think so.
He probably did in spring.
Yeah, he looked really good. I just think it's tough to say who's going to lead the team in interceptions because, I mean, just who knows? I mean, there's just
a lot of variables there, including how the quarterbacks they play, throw the ball. I'd say a guy that didn't really do anything today, but I think Christian Harrison is going to be a good player, and I think that would be if I were to make a pick of who's going to lead the team in interceptions, I might go him.
Yeah. By the way, that sack on that trick play, I believe it was Carter Stoutmeyer was the guy.
Yeah,
that's
right.
I just want to make sure it's his name.
I remember because he didn't have a jersey on.
Right. It was weird. Very strange. Let's see. Heartbroken Hall appreciates Super Chat goes, I need y'all's way too early record predictions. I'm going 5-7, which probably means I'll be at least 6-6 by the start of the season. I don't even know if we can get to that point at this spot.
Yeah, that's if we're doing way too early. He went 5-7. I'll go 4-8, which means I can talk myself into 5-7.
Yeah, that's probably about where I'm at.
Same. I think 4-8 might be not saying best case, but I'm saying 4-8 is the safest bet for me. Like that's a safe bet for me. Anything above it, of course, I'll be excited and want. But yeah, just for the way it's going.
Having not looked at any team on their schedule.
Right. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, Utah. Who knows? Utah could be complete dog water.
Right.
And, that could be an easy win week 2. But like. Right now, as it stands, I'm like, I don't know if I can say Arkansas definitively goes out there. I do think if we ran 1,000 simulations, they'd average about 4 wins.
Yes, I think so too. All right, so Leo Zarkian says, if that guy's name that you said so eloquently, Andrew.
I'm a Songbe Ginyu?
There you go.
Yeah.
Says, didn't get a pick 6, y'all would have never known he was on the team. So
correct.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. There was about 7 different times. Yeah. And what's crazy is that happens at every single time I go to practice, there's someone else where I'm like, oh, this transfer from Jacksonville, you're like, when did we get this guy? I don't even remember. But no, yeah, Songbe Ginyu was definitely not on my radar going into 3 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Talk to him. Worm says, how did the in-state freshman look? Well, because I saw this and also from Arkansas about Danny Beal, but I mean, from what I saw, Danny Beal was in there. I think he's going to be a guy that contributes, but it's tough as a true freshman in a lot of positions to make waves out there. But
he's big. He stands out. He's an imposing looking dude. I mentioned Hodges earlier at running back. And he didn't put up crazy. I think he wound up like 6 for 18 or something like that. But he had one run in particular where he shook a couple bodies off and got into the second level of the defense. And I was like, okay, it looks pretty good. I think they might have something there. I don't know about this year, like because you got so many running backs in there that are probably going to factor in. But I like him.
Hey, Prevo caught a pass today out of the slot. He got some reps in there. He's in state, right? He's Bentonville,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's good to see him out there. I mean, if Tay Lockett counts, because technically he did go to Conway, so we're counting Tay Lockett as an in-state freshman. I think he's going to be the best of the group for sure. No disrespect to Danny Beal. If he is playing a lot of snaps this fall, something went wrong, and that's not a knock on him. They just have like 10 bodies in that room.
They went and got so many guys.
Grown men, redshirt juniors that have been in college football for a while, played in the ACC, played in the SEC. So if Danny Beal as a freshman is coming in here playing 20 snaps a game, that either means he's a generational talent or something weird happened. But yeah, I like TJ Hodges, and I think running back's a weird spot because there are like 5 guys. So I could see TJ winding up being like 4th or 5th on that list, but I don't think there's much separation at all. And given how talented he is, I think they might at least see what they've got there.
Well, shout out to also it was just really one play, but Blair Irvin III from Bentonville had probably one of the best catches of the day where he caught it over his shoulder, got 2 feet in, going out of bounds. Was a really incredible catch.
Who threw that? Was that AJ that threw that?
I believe so. I mean, I remember it
was.
You know
who it was? I know who it was. It was Cade Trotter.
That's right.
Came out slinging, bro. Both backup quarterbacks came in like ready to roll. Now, I don't think Fuller wound up ever really having a chance to make a play because when he went in, they put in the 3 offensive line and it didn't go well. But Cade Trotter, they were making shit happen, dude. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. Also, too, what's something that just made me think about that is because I was looking at my notes. Also, shout out to Miguel Mitchell, the Razorback that was not here, then was here, then not here, then was here again. He had some really big hits too today. And
talking about starting safety. Miguel
Mitchell. That's right. All right. So we got a few more that's dealing with basketball and baseball, so we can wrap up on that because I know people are mostly into that one. But
baseball game over?
Yeah, it ended like 30 minutes ago, dude.
Okay.
Yep,
didn't even come close.
Yeah, losing streak or the winning streak over Missouri in baseball comes to an end, sadly. But you won the series, so there's that. But Canada just wants to know, Curtis, is Mika coming?
Sure sounds that way, doesn't it? Sure sounds that way.
Yep.
Brush up on your finish. Embrace Slim Jesus. Let Cal do his work. There we go. It's Mika time. Mika Monday in Fayetteville.
I like that. Early morning Monday, by the way. So
that's right. Yeah.
Be ready to roll.
Morning stream. Let's go.
Well, Samuel just says, I feel like Mika's definition of boom or bust.
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, look, I'll probably record something and put it out a little bit later. Because I'm not going to do a early morning Monday show, and we're probably going to get a commitment at 9 a.m. and we'll go live and talk about that. But it is, man, it's high risk, but very, very high reward. And so if Cal, and he's got a track record, of being able to harness some guys that are a little bit rough around the edges or have to grow up or whatever, because the one thing you cannot doubt with Mika is his talent. I mean, there are not too many dudes out there who are 7-foot tall guards. Who can dribble, pass, and shoot, and he's athletic, and it's just a matter of putting it all together and then doing it consistently. So we'll see what it looks like. Immense talent, and I'm going to go into it with an open mind.
Listen, I thought Laurie Markkinen, speaking of finished 7-footers who can shoot and handle the ball a little bit, I remember thinking he was going to be so bad. I was like, I cannot believe people think this is a 5-star. This guy sucks. And he wound up being pretty good. And he's actually, still playing in the NBA, still making it work a little bit. Some of these dudes that, you look at and you think of it like, oh, is this guy a big, beefy, defensive rebounder, shot blocker and all that? No, but it's just a different type of player. As long as you have those other skill sets around him, you can make it work. Don't put him in a position to have to be able to have a boom or bust effect on your team. If he's coming off the bench playing 18 minutes a game, we can live with boom or bust.
True.
My favorite thing real quick about this guy, though, is just like if you look up his profile on 24/7 Sports, you know how they always do like, hey, national, where's he rank? And then like position where he ranks. Cracks me up because in the state ranks, he's number 1 out of Serbia. So if you want to know like where he ranks of the Serbians, and I clicked to see who, and there's only one listed is him. So number 1 player in Serbia.
He's better than Jokic Jr. over there.
It's very interesting, man, because he played with JJ Andrews on Brad Beal Elite 2 years ago, and they went and won Peach Jam, and he really, that's when he burst onto the scene. He was great during that entire stretch there, and he was like top 10, 5-star, mocking in lotteries and everything like that. And then it's just been weird since then. Like it didn't really can carry over to Compass Prep. He played his junior season of high school. It was pretty underwhelming. And then he didn't play on the EYBL because he was going to do, you mentioned Lauri Markkanen, the Eurobasket thing. And he made Team Finland. And it wasn't like the U18 team, like it was their team. And he wound up getting a little bit of burn in there. And he was playing alongside Markkanen and had some moments. And so it was like, man, maybe he's found it again. And then instead of coming back to the States for his senior year of high school, he signs with the pro club in Serbia. And it was just a mess. And he was playing with older guys and everything, but he never really, got a bunch of tick there, and the staff got let go, and it's just it's a weird deal. And then he was like MIA. You just didn't hear anything about him. And then he played in the Hoop Summit, and he looked good. So it's been this constant roller coaster ride, and it's been that way with Arkansas too. Like he visited a couple years ago, and then this time a year ago, people were thinking, oh, he might reclass and join the Hogs, and then he didn't. And then it was like, is he just going to go to the draft because some colleges are backing off of him? And now it sounds like he's going to be a Razorback after all. So it's been a long road to get to this point. And it's time to embrace Slim Jesus, man.
That's right. That's right. A few more here, too. Ryan comes in, says, good news from B-ball. Baseball was cheeks. Football time. I assume that's what he's saying. So, man.
Oh, dude, Ryan is going to hate Mika Miernan, bro.
He's suddenly acting like he's gonna be a huge fan.
He is built in a lab to piss Ryan off.
I'm surprised, yes, because he's acting like he's a big proponent of it, and I'm like, but I know how you felt about Trevin. So we'll see, man.
Imagine Trevin, but without the experience, without the the flashes of brilliance here and there.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
but not really. Not really kidding though. But yeah. And then Janine, go with it. Baseball's a struggle. Basketball's concerning. Usually that means football will be good. Go Hogs. That is just not a formula.
I would disagree with
that. Is not science. That is not science. That is not a mathematical equation there.
I would. Today is probably not the day to talk about basketball being concerning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's. I've been wondering what direction they're going to go at the 4. Because it hasn't really made a whole lot of sense. And if this is what they're going to do, that's great. Now they got to go take care of business at center. Like Mika's not, he's a lot of things. He is not somebody you can put at the 5 in the SEC. So they need to close, with the KZ. We'll see what it looks like with the dude from Florida, if they're going to take all 3 of those guys or what. But I think there's every reason to be more encouraged on the basketball front than maybe there has been the last week or two.
I mean, the floor is definitely a lot lower for football, you know what I mean? Like, than either of those programs. So, there's things you could be concerned about with basketball. There's definitely things you can be concerned about with baseball, but I wouldn't be putting my trust in football if that's where you're at.
No, he's not at this point, at least. So, well, fellas, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
No, nothing crazy. It's been an interesting spring watching this football team, and looking forward to fall camp.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to fall camp too. I did have a fun time watching football, and I'm glad we got it in because it looks like we're about to get rained on bad for the next few hours here. It's gonna be storming, but appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for kicking it with us here on a Saturday, despite all the terrors that the Arkansas Athletic Department forces upon us. We'll be back at some point. Probably going to do a stream tomorrow for baseball because I feel like we need a State of the Union. We need a little bit of something. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow afternoon, once you get home from church, you pick up your McDonald's, get in front of the TV, and let's roll. Let's talk about some baseball.
Yeah, and there you have it. And yeah, we'll be covering all things Razorbacks continuing here on Inside Arkansas, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. It's all going to be happening right here. So be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. Check out all of our audio podcasts wherever podcasts are found, and check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas as well. And that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, Curtis Wilkerson, and intern Cameron, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Next time something in football happens, but we'll see you later on for some great weeks and some great news happening in Razorback sports. We'll see you all then.